Okay, so here's a quick breakdown. This is me. This is a game of Takeover. This game Takeover is part of a collection of games called Clubhouse Games. And this is what happens when everything is going your way, you're winning, you feel on top of the world, and then tragedy strikes.
Brother, help me!
Long live the king.
Don't worry, I promise the rest of the video isn't like this. A feature of modern consoles that's often taken for granted are playtime trackers. Whether it's grinding out hours of time on Rocket League or living your best life on your Animal Crossing island, platforms that take the opportunity to let you know just how much time you're spending or wasting can be a blessing and a curse, which is why I'm grateful that a playtime tracker was not natively built into the Nintendo DS, one of the first consoles I sank positively hundreds of hours into, thanks to games like Super Mario 64 DS, yes, I prefer that game to the N64 original, Animal Crossing Wild World, and Kirby Superstar Ultra. These are just a few titles that I honestly don't know if I would be proud or utterly ashamed of knowing how much time I spent playing them, so maybe that's for the best. However, one of the biggest time sinks in the Nintendo DS library has to be Clubhouse Games. I remember on the last day of 6th grade, I had saved up enough allowance to buy a game for the summer. I walked into GameStop and, based on the cover art alone, I decided to purchase Clubhouse Games. That game devoured my summer, in a way few games have since. But what about a game based on such a simple premise makes it so memorable? For those unfamiliar, Clubhouse Games is a collection of board and card games on the Nintendo DS, developed by Agenda and published by Nintendo in North America in October of 2006. In truth, it would have been easy for Nintendo, or any company really, to publish a cheap, unpolished collection of just basic games. It's not a new idea. It's been done many times before and will likely be repeated. But Clubhouse Games was and is different. From the initial presentation and music alone, Clubhouse Games oozes class, sophistication, and polish. The big band and jazz music is extremely catchy, and instantly establishes an atmosphere fitting a suave game club. It's cozy, familiar, and understated. From the single-player main menu, we're presented with 3 options: Free Play, Stamp, and Mission. Free Play is the section I spent the most time with, and where I think most players will spend the majority of their time as well. This mode allows you to play all the games in the collection, with the exception of a few that need to be unlocked in Stamp mode. The games are divided into 8 categories: Basic Card Games, Intermediate Card Games, Advanced Card Games, Basic Board Games, Advanced Board Games, Variety Games, Action Games, and Single-Player Games. Selecting one will give you the option to change a variety of settings, including computer difficulty, occasionally the rule sets for the game, and even change the background design for the games. These designs were a simple little change to the actual gameplay table that could be unlocked by winning the game a certain number of times, and served as great incentives to play every game multiple times. Once everything has been set up, you can then start the game. Pretty self-explanatory for free play. The second mode, Stamp, is probably the closest thing you could call to a story mode in Clubhouse Games. Probably campaign is a more accurate term. You have a set route order of the games that can be played, and in order to progress, you have to earn 3 stamps. The amount of stamps you win depends on how well you do playing the game. Completing games in Stamp mode will unlock those few games I mentioned previously, as well as unlock stamps to use for chat. Finally, the last single-player mode is Mission. As the name implies, these are slight remixes on the established games, in that not only do you play the games, but you are given an extra goal that you must meet in order to complete the mission, such as completing a game of Spit in under 90 seconds, or getting 3 bullseyes in a game of darts. If you complete a mission, then you unlock a new icon for your profile, but if you complete all the missions, then you actually unlock a new pop soundtrack that changes up the music for all the games in the collection. While I was never as big of a fan of the pop soundtrack as I was of Lounge, it's definitely a welcome addition. So that's the roundup of the 3 main single-player modes, but how does it feel to actually play the games? Ease and accessibility are the names of the game in Clubhouse Games. Like in Trauma Center, all games in Clubhouse Games are played with the touchscreen, which definitely works in the game's favor. While some DS games can feel like the touchscreen controls are just shoehorned into the experience, the touchscreen controls actually help streamline the gameplay. Being able to move your cards and pieces seamlessly is just intuitive and easy, the way it should be. On the bottom of the touchscreen, you'll notice 3 tabs: Options, Chat, and Rules. The options are generic but include useful little quality of life settings like displaying tips, hints, auto-sorting cards, etc., and can be turned on and off on the fly. The Rules tab allows you to pull up a full explanation of how each and every game plays if you need a reference during the game. Chat is where things get really interesting. The developers essentially integrated their own form of PictoChat into the game. While not entirely identical, it works virtually the same way, with players able to write their own notes in the game that are then sent out to the group chat, which is visible when playing with others in multiplayer. The game even makes use of the DS Rumble Pack, buzzing the console when it's your turn to play. Speaking of multiplayer, Clubhouse Games features a variety of options for playing with friends. While you can play this game with other people if they also own a copy of the game, Clubhouse Games was always one of my favorite DS titles that allowed for single card download play, meaning that if your other friends had a DS but not Clubhouse Games, you could still play multiplayer properly. There were a lot of DS games that used single card multiplayer, like Mario Kart DS, but most of these had so many of the features stripped out, it felt like Nintendo was just trying to give other people a taste of the game so that they would go and buy the games for themselves, rather than providing a fun multiplayer experience. Clubhouse Games is one of the few exceptions, however, as every game, with the exception of the single-player ones like Solitaire, could be played with up to 8 players with a single copy of Clubhouse Games, making multiplayer gatherings a blast. There were even options for multiplayer over Wi-Fi and leaderboards, which have now been shut down. Because we really didn't have in-home Wi-Fi growing up, this is a mode I don't have as much experience with and can't really go into detail on, but the fact that players were able to play these games online sounds like a welcome addition. So what about the games themselves? As previously mentioned, Clubhouse Games has a healthy variety to choose from. Some of my favorites being I Doubt It, frequently called Bull, but of course this is a Nintendo game and we can't call it that, President, Dots and Boxes, Chess, Rummy, Balance, Bowling, and Solitaire. The lineup for Clubhouse Games is pretty solid, with your usual suspects of checkers, blackjack, poker, and lots more. The compilation contained 42 games in total, and while some of them are a little weird, there's Soda Shake. You take turns. Shaking a soda. What? The overall collection is very strong, with plenty of games I had never heard of and probably would have never been exposed to if I had never played the game. And in the end, maybe that's why I love Clubhouse Games so much. Because while it was a way to play my favorite games that I already knew and loved on the go, it was also a great tool for teaching me how to play new games, and a lot of new games. The amount of content you get in this one small package is staggering, and this amount of content combined with the level of care and polish that went into the game is what makes Clubhouse Games a memorable part of my DS collection. And until recently, I felt like I was one of the few people who had even heard of the game. That is, until Clubhouse Games was announced for the Switch. And now I see the series being talked about a lot more, which is great. But if I'm being honest, I'm having mixed feelings about Clubhouse Games on Switch. When the game was first shown off in the March Mini Direct, I was ecstatic. This was a series I had wanted a new entry in for so long, so to finally see it return was incredibly exciting, especially for one of my favorite platforms. However, upon doing a little digging, I was slightly disappointed to find out that this time, Agenda would not be the ones developing the title, but rather NDCube. Really, this shouldn't come as a surprise. From the limited information I could find on Agenda, they don't have many titles under their belt when it comes to development, with the most recent game being published in 2010. It's unclear whether they are still actively making games, and unlike NDCube, they're not owned by Nintendo. On the surface, NDCube makes sense to develop Clubhouse Games, being that they developed Nintendo's other party games, such as entries in the Mario Party franchise. However, given how bare-bones Super Mario Party felt in its content, and combined with NDCube's track record with other games that they have developed, it's a little worrying to see them try to follow up what is, in my opinion, one of the most content-heavy and infinitely replayable games in the DS library. Like I said in the beginning, it would be very easy to put out an overly simple board game compilation, and that's what I'm worried about with Clubhouse Games on the Switch. The visuals look gorgeous, and the new entry has 9 more games than the previous title, which are all great things to focus on. And considering that the best part of Super Mario Party were the minigames, maybe Clubhouse Games, a compilation of smaller games, might be a better project for NDCube to focus on. Despite my worries, I'm still incredibly hyped for Clubhouse Games' 51 Worldwide Classics on the Switch. Will the game live up to the standards that the original Clubhouse Games created? Only time will tell. Did you ever play Clubhouse Games? It's a game I'd never seen brought up until the new title was revealed. Let me know in the comments if you're planning on getting the new entry on the Switch or if you're a fan of the original. Before I go, I just want to give a couple quick shoutouts. I want to say thank you so much to my friend Sharon. She served as a script advisor and writing aide for this episode. This is a video that I've been really wanting to make for a long time. Clubhouse Games is super important to me, and so I want to make sure that I got everything right. She helped out a lot. Not only Sharon, but I want to say thank you to a bunch of my friends who have just really helped me along the way. Starting this whole YouTube channel has been a new, interesting endeavor for me, and so I've just had a lot of people along the way help me out. My friend Gooman, Mr. Game Scoop, my girlfriend Chief Thickums, and just I'm really grateful for all the people who have been really encouraging and part of the reason why I enjoy making videos. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay safe, and I'll see you next time.